Fewer than 200 great Indian bustards remain in the wild. They survive in shrinking pockets of the Thar Desert, surrounded by industrial development and agricultural sprawl. The Indian government formalized a tripartite agreement between state and federal agencies, dedicating over 800 lakh rupees for the project's first year to stop the species' collapse. The strategy relies on ex-situ conservation. Ex-situ conservation is a process where an endangered population is physically extracted from its natural habitat and placed into a controlled artificial environment. To prevent a species from disappearing in the wild, the plan extracts it from the wild. This strategy requires a specialized infrastructure of satellite zoos and engineered botanical gardens to act as modern biological arks. The Machia Biological Park in Rajasthan is one such facility. It functions as a 41-hectare secure zone designed to manage, feed, and breed large predators like Asiatic lions and Bengal tigers away from human conflict. For plants, facilities like the Visakhapatnam Biodiversity Park serve as living laboratories. They maintain precise soil and climate conditions to sustain thousands of rare species, including exotic insectivorous plants like these nepenthes. These parks provide a secure environment for endangered life. Yet environmental philosophers argue that placing an organism inside these boundaries creates a paradox regarding what we are actually preserving. Philosopher Holmes Ralston draws a distinction between spontaneous wild nature and deliberated human culture. In a natural ecosystem, a wild organism autonomously defends its own life. Every thorn it grows or insect it traps is a response shaped entirely by the pressures of natural selection. Move that same organism into a botanical garden, and the struggle ends. Its water is scheduled, its nutrients are balanced by technicians, and its natural predators are fenced out. While the physical organism survives, it loses its ecological context. By pulling a wild plant or animal into a managed facility, we transmute it into a human artifact. This philosophical loss translates into physical changes within the animal's DNA over generations. Captive populations, starting with few survivors, trigger the founder effect. This constricts the gene pool, discarding wider diversity. Inside this bottleneck, closely related individuals mate. Rare, lethal genetic defects become more common, expressing in the offspring. Over time, the animals undergo adaptation to captivity. This is a biological shift, where evolutionary pressures favor traits that are beneficial in a zoo, but can be lethal for an animal trying to survive independently. The isolation of a captive facility can degrade the precise biological traits a species requires to survive in the wild. To fight this genetic decay, conservationists use manual tracking of mean kinship. They use statistical models to force mating pairs between the least related individuals in a population to preserve rare alleles. When live breeding is insufficient, scientists rely on frozen zoos. By storing sperm, eggs, and tissue samples in liquid nitrogen, they can store genetic material for decades without degradation. Scientists and researchers are also testing isochoric vitrification. This process freezes mature organisms and zygotes in a specialized solution that prevents the formation of damaging ice crystals, preserving the viability of the cells. Keeping an endangered species biologically viable outside of its habitat requires humanity to manually micromanage its evolution. Despite these scientific feats, ex-situ conservation is an expensive and vulnerable strategy. A single disease outbreak or a loss of funding can jeopardize the entire population. The true function of these interventions is clarified by the legal mandates of the Great Indian Bustard Agreement. The agreement mandates the creation of 200 square kilometers of inviolate space, habitats secured specifically for release sites. Captive breeding functions as a bridge to in situ conservation, the active restoration and protection of the wild ecosystems the animals originally inhabited. These facilities provide a holding space, buying time to restore the natural landscapes these species require to survive on their own.